Good evening. Well, thank you for joining us. My name is Kathy Ehlers, and today is Thursday, November 2nd, it being 8:06. We're going to begin this meeting. I'm going to open the meeting by asking everybody to stand and salute our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to establish a quorum so we can begin. Ms. Sullivan? Here. Mr. Homer?
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
Ms. Azak?
Here.
Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
And I'm here as the chair as well. And at this time, we'll see if we have any hearing of visitors. We do not have any hearing of visitors tonight, so we will move on to agenda number 5, which is the introduction of our new acting principal of Brockton High, Mr. Jose Duarte.
So I'd like to just take a quick moment to introduce Mr. Duarte. We've had the pleasure working with him here in Brockton for the last 3 years at South Middle School. He and I actually worked together in the Boston Public Schools, and he was a cluster leader. I was an assistant principal. And we go further back to the Army Reserve when we were separate units, but our units worked together on some projects. So we've known each other for a little bit. I know him to be a man of integrity, a man of hard work and dedication and commitment to students and the community of Brockton. So, Mr. Duarte, would you like to say a few words?
So right at the podium. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Cobbs, for the kind words and the kind introduction. I'd like to take the opportunity to say thank you to you and your administration and to the school committee for the trust and the confidence that you've put on me to come and work with the high school at this time. I'll share with you that I've been, I'll say very pleased. I was going to say excited, but that would be a little bit of an exaggeration. Very pleased to be here for this week and 3 days so far. It has been
And he keeps coming back.
I'm sorry?
And he keeps coming back.
It's been rapid learning, like, you know, the old expression, drinking from a fire hose, having to learn the building. Good thing I already knew lots of the kids, so that has made the transition very smooth, very good. Now the kids have been able to vouch for me. That's why they tell me. They're vouching for me with the other kids that I'm an okay guy. I said, thank you, I appreciate that, you know. But I can tell you that in my initial assessment and the short time I've been here, what I have learned is that contrary to the newsies he published in many of our papers and on the TV, there's an incredibly hardworking and competent and dedicated and caring staff that works here with students. And I really want to emphasize that, that we need to hear and see that as much as we can. And there is, as we already know, an amazing student body here. We hear about the same group of 100, maybe 200 kids, but the other kids, they just want to have an awesome high school experience. We just finished 2 days of student assemblies, and that was one thing I heard again and again from the students. As a matter of fact, next week I'm going to meet again with the seniors because they want to have conversations about having a wonderful final year of high school. And I've told them for the time I'm here, I'm committed to making sure that at least we start and then they'll be able to continue when a permanent leader is assigned. And as much as I've seen that we do have and this amazing group of staff members and awesome students, we are now with our set of challenges. We have characterized a set of challenges in many different ways. I say I'm a man standing in front of this very large wave, or we're trying to catch smoke, and just not enough fingers and nets or whatever to catch. So knowing that on my first Thursday here, so after being here about 3 or 4 days, we began by immediately taking advantage of the faculty meeting and being very clear with folks about our expectations, academic expectations for everybody, because you know how it is. And when, unfortunately, there weren't as many people here to keep track or watch what was going on, or some leadership, things were kind of falling by the wayside. So it's become very clear to all staff members who work here. what the academic expectations are for them in the classrooms. We've been working with the administrative team, which you know is kind of new, and some of them, I don't know how long they've been administrators, to help them develop their leadership skills, to empower them. They are a wonderful group as well, dedicated and caring. So I've been working with them to continue to develop. And then, as a result of an unfortunate incident that happened on Thursday, where we had a physical altercation between 4 students, we did a half a day on Friday, and that turned out to be, as in my view, maybe not in everybody's view, but in my view, it turned out to be a really wonderful meeting where the staff came together and had the opportunity to share their concerns, their thoughts, and then express what was their mind. They told me they hadn't had the opportunity to do that in a long time. But as a result of that, we were able to not only share our passion about how we felt about things, but also to work together collaboratively in groups and form a plan that for the immediate time, where we outlined several things that we wanted to do to make sure we begin to turn around the school. And I think you've probably seen it in different places, but very quickly, one was to make sure we worked with the central administration to address the staffing shortages. You know, we have several vacancies that are still out there. We're doing our very best through School Spring and other places to address that. So we had to address the staffing shortages, and I'll continue to work with the deputy superintendent and assistant superintendents to make sure that now that we don't have as many candidates, that we can begin to do certain moves with the staff to collapse classes or whatever else we need to do to make sure that all the kids have a teacher. We already began to hire the security specialists. You know, that was a huge issue with kids being in bathrooms and being places they did not need to be, or being in the hallways. So hopefully the security specialists are going to help that quite a bit. And a huge problem we had was kids not being present for instruction because they were leaving the building and going across the street to McDonald's. I'll tell you that Mr. Chin, the district manager, Mr. Montero, the local manager, and I are not good friends. They even offered me free meals, but I think I'll pass for now, because we think that's something that we've addressed in many ways. So the kids are now not leaving the building in large numbers like they were doing before. So keeping the kids in the building, keeping them engaged in instruction. We had 2 wonderful days, as I mentioned earlier, of grade level meetings with the students, where we simply did things such as establishing bottom line basic expectation for students, letting them know what we expected of them in the hallways, in the classroom, but not only that, but also telling them about the supports that were available for them so they could successfully accomplish all of that. We've begun to have numbers of one-on-ones with students and staff as well, who were not as engaged, and that has been a very productive and good conversations. Some parents come in not as happy with us as why they have to be here and why their children haven't done this and haven't done that. And today I had a couple that were absolutely wonderful. Moving the students, I had one young lady come to the main office and confront me because I made a false accusation when we had the conversation. Oh, I guess you're right, Mr. Duarte. I said, yeah, absolutely, we're right. And that young lady, I believe, is going to have a good positive result. And then the piece that I really want to work on as well is making sure we elevate the positive behavior and the positive things that we see happening in the classrooms. So those are some of the things we were working on that hopefully will help us achieve what is my goal by the time I leave here in 2 months, is to bring some stability into the building, both academically and social-emotionally, so that when the new administration takes over, they can begin to focus on a more long-term solution to the challenges we have. So I could go longer, but I think I want to respect time and stop right there. Of course.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your kind of synopsis of, your first 30 seconds of being acting principal. So appreciate that, and it's a pleasure to meet you. I'd like to open up the floor for questions to some of my colleagues. Ms. Azak?
Thank you, Mr. Duarte. So my question is I've gotten some calls. So I know there were issues up at the high school. What are we doing as far as the bathrooms? And it's not so much just the bathroom, but it was brought to my attention from some staff that I'm not sure what the students are shoving down the sinks, but they're clogging the sinks. So I don't know if they're smoking in there and then they're getting rid of the evidence. Is there something we can, maybe talk to facilities as far as putting in the sinks to avoid having, if the sinks are clogged and the water's on, we're going to have a flood. So are we monitoring in the bathrooms? I know in the past we have. So that is one of the biggest issues is I'm here in the bathrooms and a few other things that are happening where we need extra monitoring. So do you have a plan? Is there something we can work with you as far as facilities, getting something to avoid having the sinks overflow because they're clogged? And I don't know what they're putting down there, but if you ask the custodians, they might tell you.
Right. I think that has been happening as a result of a variety of different things. Some is, it could be students getting rid of evidence. Others is just malicious destruction of property, hoping to cause a flood and have something happen. It's funny sometimes, but it's not really funny. And then the other piece is that some of the bathrooms were going unmonitored because you may remember last year we had to let go of some of the security specialists, but now they're beginning to come back. We've hired 4 or 5 at the moment, and some of their main responsibilities is going to be to monitor that. Also, we have people who have hallway duty that are becoming more aware of that, making sure they're paying attention, and even some of the floor teachers, that's also they're beginning to do. One of the things that we were really working on is clearing the bathrooms because it's if we all remember our high school days, it was cool to go in the bathroom and sit there. And I kept telling the kids, I don't know why you want to be there and sit, but whatever. So it's coming in regularly clearing out the bathroom and then locking the bathrooms at certain times. We don't want to lock it so that the kids don't have access because they need to have access to utilize the facilities, but making sure that somebody regularly coming in, clearing them out, make sure there's anything going on in there that should not be taking place. So hopefully we're going to see a decrease in that as we increase the number of security specialists, more close attention to monitoring them, and at times having them locked so that they shouldn't be at the bathroom at that point. They should be going to the classroom and then getting a pass because oftentimes the kids go from one building to the other. The bathroom is open. Why don't we go hide in the bathroom for a little bit?
No, and definitely I'm hearing from the staff. I'm hearing from students and I'm hearing from the staff. It's been an issue, and I know we're working on getting more help up at the high school.
Yeah.
So I understand that. It's just, but before we have an issue as far as like flooding, we definitely need to focus on figuring out a way that they can't shove things down those sinks. There's got to be something we can figure out to avoid a flood. And my other question is it's been brought to my attention. I apologize for putting you on the spot, but this is what we're here for tonight. So our cameras that we have, and I've gone into the room and I've seen them. We can always use more cameras. I know in the past with the previous superintendent, we've talked about more cameras. Are we going to be getting more cameras up here, especially on the staircases? I know there's kids hanging out on staircases. They're vaping. I'm getting the videos. People are sending us the videos. We need to do what we can to help our staff be able to focus on teaching and not have to reprimand students because they're vaping on the stairs or have to keep an eye on the students. I know we're shorthanded, but what can we do as far as adding more cameras and making sure our cameras are all working so we can identify these students? So are all the cameras working?
As far as I know, all the cameras are working, and I think
I'll address that. So yes, we're going to add more cameras. Again, you know that last year we went through an upgrade to the whole server camera system, so we can add more cameras to the whole mix. So we have a capacity of 500 more cameras that we can add. They will be added to the stairwell. They will be added to the building here, but it takes time, and it takes, we have to get the building wired and install the cameras, and our real priority right now has been the PA system and the announcement in the classroom to be able to call the office. And so installing more cameras in the stairwells is in the plan, but that's not going to stop students from vaping or smoking. That we'll just see who's doing it. Seriously, it's not going to stop them, but, it will give us more eyes. But again, we have to prioritize. We have to decide, fight out, which battles we're going to fight. Are we going to, prevent, keep kids in the classroom and prevent fights in the hallways, or or try to chase them down when they take a hit of their vape in the top of the stairwell and go to class. So
Well, it's not so much just
it's,
taking
it's, you
hit
know, like
of the vape.
he
There's
said,
like a
it
group of them
literally
that just
chases
sits
them
there every day.
Yeah,
same
we
time.
do, and we have
Every day,
sweeps, and we
same
go
time.
around the building, and we chase them out of the stairwells, we chase them out of the crosswalks. We do.
I can tell you that the short time I've been here already, every morning I start my day by going under the gym. There's a large group I call it my a club that I go there every morning and advise them not to smoke, and they leave. They come into the school building, and then in the yellow and the red building, there's particular stairways where the kids are congregating. So it has been about deploying folks there, making sure they're clear, continuously doing the loop of second, third floor to keep it clear. And then oftentimes they find their way to the fine arts building, because that's a more quieter building which has some staircases where they think nobody's going to. So developing, sending some of the security specialists out there as well.
Okay, and then how are we doing as far as addressing our dress code? I know you just came on. You haven't even, it's been a week. How are we doing as far as the hoods in our dress code, the dress code? Because again, I'm hearing some buildings are enforcing it and other buildings aren't, and we need to be across the board in every single building. If a teacher, whoever sees them in the morning should be reporting if students are not following the dress code. Yeah. It's not fair for some teachers later on in the day to have to address a student when the student's been going all day long. We have to work as a team to enforce the dress code. That way teachers are not constantly, we're not putting them in that situation. It should be in the morning. Who sees them in the morning, coming in, checking in? If it's an issue, I've seen it.
I'll let Jose
yeah, we
address
have
that,
a dress code.
I will address it, but that's something that every morning I walk to all the cafeterias when I was here. Take off your hood, take off your hat, take off your do-rag. But it's when you say it's not the teacher's responsibility, it absolutely is. It's everybody's
it is.
responsibility.
It should be the
to
person
speak
in
to
the
student.
morning
in
that
the morning
sees
and
them.
in the afternoon, all day long. It's everybody's responsibility.
So I'll give you two examples from just today, because that's a continuous battle. It's not just a one person, just the morning, just the second period, just the third period. I was walking on my way out to the red side of the house to go outside to the PE building, physical education building. A young man was in line to get breakfast, and I saw this teacher addressing him about taking off his hood. So teacher said something, stood there for a minute, and he began to take off his hood. And as soon as she turned her back, he began to put it back on. And I went to him and I said, she just asked you to take it off. Why are you putting it right back on? Later on, I saw the teacher. Thank you, Mrs. Webb, for that support, because it's an ongoing battle. So you can tell them in the morning, put on a shirt because it's not appropriate length shirt, uncover, take off your hood, put away your jacket. But then 2 seconds later, as soon as you walk away, they put it back on. There are some kids who, for them, that's like a security blanket. They have to have it on, and we have to continuously remind them. Later on in the day, when I was meeting with the seniors, one of our young ladies came with a shirt that was only a quarter of a shirt. So I said to her, I'm going to have to give you a shirt to put on. It's school committee policy. Is it bothering you, Mr. Dwyer? I said, well, it's not about bothering me, but it's a policy that we have in the school, appropriate dress code. And her response to me, but we are going into third period. Nobody has said anything to me. So it's kind of both things, having to work with the staff to understand that it's a collaborative effort, all of us, and that has been what I've been talking to the folks about, is not together we can, together we will. I don't know if you've seen the shirts that were made and have adopted as our motto, at least for me. Together we can, together we will, and we'll work collaboratively, both academically and socially with our kids to make sure that they understand that we are one team. And that's why I keep telling the staff, we may not necessarily all agree on what the message is, but once we have worked together and developed that message, we have to stick to it whether we agree to it or not. Okay? And then it becomes a matter of holding people accountable for it. So I've told people, I've promised you quite a few things since I've arrived here. Please hold me accountable for it, because I will certainly appreciate that, but I'm also going to hold you accountable for not doing what we have all agreed to do as a team. And that's something I think has been missing for a little bit, holding people accountable for not doing certain things. I've told folks I don't really want to do it, and I will not do it in front of students, but if I go in a classroom and there are 5 students wearing a hood, I will ask the teacher, are the students refusing to take off the hood, or did you not ask them to take off the hood because we cannot be in every classroom asking the students to do it. So it has to be a collaboration between us.
No, definitely, because I know when this came before us in August, I voted to let them wear the sweatshirts with the hoods. But I'm hearing from so many staff members that it's difficult. And we gave them the opportunity because we did hear them, we heard their voice. But if this is a safety issue, I remember saying we need to readdress this in October. And if it's a safety issue and it's not working, then, you know, we did give them the chance to not put the hoods on. So, again, it's about safety, and we have to work with our staff. And a lot of the staff, I'm hearing from them, don't want to confront the students. They don't want that confrontation because it's just, they're here. They're trying to teach, and, you know, if you're getting pushback all day long. But again, someone shouldn't get to third period, you know, whether it's not wearing what the dress code is, abiding by the dress code, or, you know, if you got your hood on, you can put the hood on when you leave here. Just in the hallways, no hoods. That's all we're asking. You know, we get it. That's all that some of the students have are hoodies, and we're trying to work with them, but it's a safety issue. And I am hearing from a lot of people at BPS, at BHS actually, and so we really, you know, I appreciate you. You've just been here a week, so I don't mean to throw so many things at you, but it's just, this is why we're here tonight.
Right.
Because we are hearing from a lot of parents, students, and staff.
Yeah.
So, and we need to.
So it is. It's a constant fight. As Jose said, it's not something that we're ignoring. But you know, there's a handful of administrators, and if the teachers say, "I'm not going to say anything," well, guess what? It's not going to change. And when we just say something, I had the same experience. I stop a student. Can you stop? If they actually stop, some of them just take off. You know, you try to talk them and they take off running. So. So it's a fight. It's something that we're not going to give up on, but it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen when you say the kid once in the morning, take your hood off, and you see him 5 times in the daytime, and it's got his hood on again. So you have to reinforce it all the time, but the teachers have to help.
If I may just make one quick point on that, I hear what you're saying. They don't know want to confront the students. And I don't want necessarily them to confront the students. I want them to speak in a very positive way with the students about removing the hoods and why they have. And I want teachers to know, and I have communicated that with them, that if they are doing what they need to do, it is our obligation, it is my obligation to support them. And I hear a lot of stories about the past. I say, I understand that. But like I'm here today and I'm the principal now, please throw all the questions at me. That's quite fine. I'll answer them as best as I can. I want the teachers to know that that is one of the main reasons I'm here. They can do a good job, and I'm here to support them as they do a good job, whether it's now in the classroom with the academics or in the hallways or whatever with those issues such as hoods and so on. You know, we have to be respectful in the way we do it. It's not grabbing the kids and pulling the hoods off. It's not yelling down the hallway, yo, take your hood off. But I will certainly support them on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes, I was just, Dr. Cobbs, on the safety and security specialists. Okay, it says that we hired 12, and then additional 6 we want to hire,
Right.
and then there's 3 onboarded.
Right.
So now, are these like the old access control specialists that we had
Yes.
last
Yes.
year?
Yes. So we revamped the job description, and it's a different reporting structure and training for them. But yes, most of the same people that were in that position last year are returning
Okay,
in the
and
special
how
position.
are they vetted? Like, how do they go through the process to be around children?
Well, they were here last year, so they have to do the Corey, they have to do the fingerprinting, and then they go through a training that, you know, on what to do and what not to do. You know, don't grab
Okay, so
students.
they have a
You know,
training too?
so absolutely, we go through
Okay.
training. They go through training with Sergeant Livingston. We did the bag searches and, you know, different things. So, you know, again, most of them were here last year, so they have a training. That's why it's taken a while to onboard them, even though they've passed the Corey and the fingerprinting. Now we still have to do the training to onboard them. So,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Duarte? Yes, Mr. Sullivan.
Yes, Mr. DeWatt, I just wanted to thank you for jumping in. We really needed help at the time, and I just wanted to congratulate you. I got calls that you're doing a great job up there,
Thank you.
and I just I was at the football game Saturday, and I don't know if it was your idea, I'm just guessing it was, to do the tailgating. But I have never seen a crowd like that before at Brockton High. It was almost like Thanksgiving Day. If it was your idea, it was a great idea. Thank you.
I will not take credit for that. That was Kevin Carter's idea, along with the football coach. It was a great day. I really enjoyed being there. I'm not sure if I got a chance to see much of the game because I was having so much fun talking to the families, from South and other places, and those who are appreciative of me being here. So it's been a very pleasant return to Brockton. I won't tell you that I don't think about being retired. It was wonderful to be retired, but it's been a very pleasant return to Brockton and to be here for the time that I can to support. I really enjoyed my time in Brockton when I was here for the time at South Middle School, and it's a pleasure to be here.
I just wanted to mention that the superintendent, Dr. Cobbs, pulled you out of retirement to bring you back. And it was a good idea. Nice job. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mr. Homer?
Thank you. I just wanted to piggyback off of what Ms. Asak was saying earlier too about I think as long as we keep a consistent message, and like you mentioned earlier about setting expectations, for the students, I think we heard the students' voices. We wanted to give them some opportunity to express themselves. And I know it's a challenge. It's a challenge in the school where I work. It's a challenge with the bathrooms, with wandering the halls. I think that's true in every high school, but it's just a matter of deciding that it's worth fighting the fight, holding the line, holding the kids accountable. And it doesn't have to be confrontational, but just the consistency and the constant reminders, I think, is what will win the battle, and will set the tone and reinforce the message that we want to get to the students, that, you're welcome to wear, the hoodie that you like to wear. You're welcome to be in the school and to get your education and participate appropriately. But, we don't tolerate kids, wandering the halls, running away from security, gathering where they're not supposed to be, smoking on campus, whatever it is, and just holding consistent messages and high expectations. And I think that's the thing. The kids will rise to the lowest expectations. So you want to raise those expectations for them. And I appreciate the hard work that you're doing to try and set that tone right now. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just like to add, it's not easy, but like Mr. Duarte said earlier, there's 3,700 students here at the high school almost, and 3,600 of them come here every day to do what they're supposed to do, go to class, go to the sports, go to extracurricular activities. They're fine. You walk down the hallway during the class periods, and they're in the classroom. They're engaged with their teacher. There's probably 100 or so that we're chasing around the building, literally, to take your hood off, take your hat off, get out of the bathroom. So most of the students and most of the staff are doing what they're supposed to do here every day. So it's not, the sky's falling. It's a work in progress.
And I think, too, as long as the staff understands that we support them holding the policies that we've set as a committee, and we will support them if they have to face those difficult encounters, and if the school administrators hold the kids accountable, we will back the school administrators and the teachers for enforcing the rules that we want to see and the behavior and the conduct we want to see.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Thank you. I know it's been a short period of time that you're up here, but if you was to pinpoint what is the number one major concern that you see here that's like your main focus of this is going to be the priority of major issues that we have here, what do you take when you first walked into the building till now? What's the major concern?
So what's been overwhelming has been literally the sheer number of students in the hallways, trying to make sure that we have a building which is safe for all our students. Because if we don't address that primarily, then everything else, in the academics is not going to take hold. So that's why we'll be focusing on the security specialists, for example, trying to make sure students stay in the building and moving that to making sure that kids are in the classroom learning. So just making sure that the staff knows that we see it, we understand it, that we want to make sure that they know that they're safe and that they have our support. So I know I'm kind of listing a few things, but they all come back to making sure that we have a building that is safe. And that touches a number of different areas. Obviously, I could not say that without saying that we want to make sure that the level of instruction that is taking place, because I've talked about having some wonderful classrooms that I've visited, great stuff going on. but also making sure that everybody knows that they're being held accountable for delivering good instruction to all our students. It's the same district priorities that we've had for the last 2 to 3 years now. So that continues to be the same. So the academic associates are working on making sure that they support those who need additional help, and that we continue to rise the level. But the safety and security of our students and of our staff, that's what is of primary importance to me. And if I could get that accomplished, that by the time I leave, that has already decreased the number of kids going in and out of the building. That's a serious concern as they go and come, but also while they're in the building, they go to class. So that's what we're trying to focus on now.
All right, thank you. So this is going probably a month and a half now that I was up here. I'm black and white. I say things. I mean, I don't think a toilet is a major issue of leaking when we don't have staff in the building. I witnessed it firsthand with Dr. Cobbs and Mrs. Mendez. During periods, we looked around. I said, Cynthia, we're the only ones standing in the hallway, and Dr. Cobbs is escorting a student to the office. There's no staff. If something happens, who's watching it? I kicked 12 students out of the restroom, and I walked out. Cynthia was like, 2 girls just walked out of the restroom. I was more concerned of removing them. Same thing, vaping, which is a major issue here. I just don't want to I'm not going to go into details of everything that I've seen at the high school, but there's one thing that I always stressed, and I stress it now to the members that are here. Come up to the high school. Take a day and come up here and witness it for yourself. Do not sit here and quarterback and make a decision if you do not come into this building and see it firsthand how dangerous it is. My daughter just left here. She graduated last year. She begged for us to pull her out of here. My wife works up here. It's on us. If you want to make a statement, come up here and watch it. See it for yourself. Before you take a vote on hoodies, it's a problem. That's why I didn't vote for it, and that's why I was a no vote for this whole structural change, because it was going to blow up. And it did blow up. And I stand by my vote. I know the election is coming up, but take a day out and come up here and see these students and talk to them and see how it's a mess. It's dangerous up here. If nobody else wants to say it, I'll say it. It's dangerous. These are kids that you represent in your communities. You're supposed to be their voice. Thank you.
Anyone else? I do have a question. The past couple of weeks obviously have been concerning for us. The one theme that I keep hearing, and I think we're all hearing, is the value of collaboration, the value of working with teachers, instructors. My concern is that I'll speak for myself. I'm hearing that it feels as if we don't have that type of buy-in from the teachers. And so my concern is, as much as we say collaboration, are they truly in a mindset where they want to collaborate at this point? Because I know morale's down. There's a lot of issues that begin with that cohort group. And so my question to you is, I know you've had some great conversations and some great days, but is it realistic for us to be able to support and provide the resources to these teachers that they need to be able to collaborate and support the rules that are in the hallways, in the classrooms, in this building?
So when you say you've heard for the last couple of weeks, you talk about since my time here or prior, just so I can better frame my answer.
In general, like, I
General.
mean, you've been here 30 seconds for the most part, but I mean, at this point, you're the fresh set of eyes that's walking into the building, and so I'm curious to see if you know, are you coming in with rose-tinted glasses, or are you really being able to see where we're challenged with, you know, unhappy employees, unhappy teachers that, you know, they don't have the buy-in for the dress code. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, I'm just saying that, you know, I feel as if that's more of our reality than anything else right now, and if we don't have their support, we don't have anything.
Right. I always walk around with rose-colored glasses, I'll be very honest with you. I always look at the half-full glass, at the possibilities and how we can get better. But I also think that I do enough of visiting, being in the hallways, present, conversations with teachers, meeting with subgroups of folks who bring to me the voices of the teachers so that I develop a realistic picture. Because, of course, in my mind, we are all developing this grandiose plan, in which then again, as you just said, they can, in front of me, present it as, yes, I agree with you, Mr. Dwight, but then when they take their left turn, they may have something else to say, so I'm very aware of that. And that's why I spend time, for example, we spent, I don't know, an hour and a half yesterday meeting with all the BEA reps in this building, because I wanted them to bring me the voices of the teachers, the disgruntled, the people who are not necessarily buying in. Because we certainly are not going to get everybody to buy in, and we have to be realistic about that. There's no place where everybody's going to buy in. However, what I have to do is to be open and honest and have the difficult conversations with folks, whether they're being difficult with me, because what I'm putting forth is not necessarily the best, or the other way around, and listen to what is going to work and support that. So it takes time. I don't tell you that I will not tell you that in the 2 months I'm going to be down here. The hallways are going to be completely clean, and all the teachers will be happy and singing Kumbaya. That's not going to happen. But as I said, my intent is to bring the stability that we need so that teachers then begin to feel the confidence, the safety, understanding that the plan that we have can work. But as I said to other folks, when I was asked to come here and it became public through the school committee, I received many notes of congratulations, welcome, we're looking forward to seeing you here, because I developed friendships when I was here before. And the reply that I sent to all of them is, I will not do anything. We all will do something. So that is the mindset that I'm trying to develop. You know, I was in the military, as Dr. Cobb said, and it's one team, one fight. So we can not necessarily agree with what the end goal is, but what we have to agree with is that once we've selected that, not because Mr. Duarte said so, but because we met as a team and we said, this is the direction we want to go, then we all have to jump on board and work with it. And then once that becomes the plan, then it becomes my responsibility and the responsibility of the administrative team to hold people accountable, to listen to people as to why you're not doing it, and then to hold people accountable for not doing it. And I think, as Mr. Holmes said, the consistency of the message, that's what's so important. If this is what we are working on, that's what we're working on, and that's what we're going to do. We have to be consistent. Now, one day we do this, and one day we do that. I tell folks all the time, one of my core values in my professional life is discipline. We have to stay disciplined in what we are doing. There's many wins. I mean, the day after we had our meeting, I had from this person to that person telling me exactly what I needed to do, what we needed to do to change what's going on at the high school. I think that's part of the issues that we have in education sometimes, and sometimes here at the high school, one message today, a different message tomorrow. Okay, so if the message right now is that we are working hard on keeping the kids from leaving the school because of safety and concerns about them coming back, if we're working on making sure that the kids are off the hallway and in the classrooms, I need folks to buy into that and to work on that. If you're not going to do it, then I think people have choices that they have to make. Personal and professional choices they have to make. Again, that may sound a little bit harsh, but I think that's also the reality that we have to come to. Otherwise, we're going to stay in the same place. We are good about complaining, but then when it comes to action, folks don't. Okay, so we have to do that. It's probably a little more long-winded answer than you were looking for, but that's, I think, the reality of the situation.
Thank you so much. And, you know, I'd like to speak for myself, but I would love to have you come back in a month and tell us where we are then and be able to try to compare notes from where we are today. And, you know, with any luck, we've made progress and you've made progress with the staff. But I think this is something that we need to stay on top of and we need to be hyper-focused on. It's, you know, and that's the purpose of this meeting tonight is that, you know, the past couple of weeks, again, I understand that you're brand new, but the past couple of weeks have been eventful, if nothing else. And so we just need to make sure that we're constantly watching it. My last question for you is, and it goes a little bit to what Mr. Rodriguez was talking about a minute ago in terms of, you know, the fear factor. Do you think the teachers are, do you think it's more of a matter of, and I realize I'm putting you on the spot, but are they just unwilling to push code or are they afraid to push code?
I think we have a mixed group. You know, there are some who just, you know, they don't see that as such a big thing. That's not their priority. And then there are others who literally may be afraid to push it. And then there are some that maybe just like, I've given up. I've tried so often. And that's why I keep telling folks, I understand where you are. I recognize. And that was one of my first comments to folks. I know where you are now. But that doesn't mean we're going to have to stop. So if you want to make a difference, the griping, the complaining, someone else is not going to get it. Let's try to do it here. And I cannot say enough for the value, and I'm not trying to be trivial about it. I cannot say enough for the value of the consistency, for the value of repeating the message, and for the value of all of us doing the same exact thing. Okay. Again, don't want to trivialize the message, but that's extremely important that we all do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else have any questions? Ms. Azak?
It's not so much a question. I know attendance has been difficult, staff attendance. Can we get a weekly in our packets, whether it's emailed or in a packet, just our daily, just to see how the attendance is, if attendance is going to get better? You know, we're all working together and we're going to try to get through this, but I like to keep an eye on the attendance.
Yep.
Because if we don't have staff, then our students are suffering academically. So we need to be able to teach them. And so if that's possible, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, every morning Elvan does what we call a pause, and it shows all the teachers by name that are absent.
I've seen it on
I'll make sure she
the.
sends it to you, to the school
If we,
committee.
could- I know I'd like it. I know I've seen it on the television. When I come in here, it just shows who's out. So I'd like to see those, you know, if we were all working together. I know we had quite a few out. So I know I'm getting calls, and I just want parents to know that we're doing the best that we can.
Yeah. I know you didn't ask me a question, but I'll tell you this, that after that Thursday conversation, when I talked about holding people accountable, one thing I told people I was going to hold them accountable for was attendance. You know, and I pulled out some data, which I'll hopefully have when I come back in a month to tell you some data of how we are improving. And I spoke about the value of folks being here, the need for folks to be here, and the professional obligation that folks have to be in here for one another and for the students. That Friday, which was a week ago tomorrow, we had the best Friday attendance we've had in a long time. So I'm not tooting any horns yet, but I'm hoping that repeats tomorrow. But I will tell you that next week I'm beginning to have one-on-one conversations about people who have high numbers of absences already. Because if you saw the numbers, which you will see, it's very difficult. Again, we all get sick. We all have personal obligations to go. But then there's patterns and trends that I have seen on some staff attendance that I will have to address with staff, and we have the means by which to do it through the contract. So I will be doing that starting hopefully Monday. I know we have then Tuesday off, so it makes a little bit. This next week I already have a number of letters out that I'm giving out to people to come see me and have a conversation about their attendance.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Like many have said, you've only been here a week, and you know, we're looking forward. We need changes, and we need to support our staff, and we also need to support our students. So I appreciate what you've done so far. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Duarte? Well, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for your explanation about your first couple of weeks, and we look forward to seeing you again at one of our meetings in December.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here. No, thank you for your support, and we have lots of ideas, and hopefully we'll continue to work together get more people to buy in. I think they're looking for some results, and hopefully I'll be able to use some data to show some results, and we'll be in a better place when I leave sometime soon.
That would be wonderful, actually. So thank you so much. And at this time, I would like to invite the mayor up, and I will switch spots.
Thank you, Jose. We appreciate your efforts and your hard work.
Good evening, everybody. I want to thank the Vice Chair for handling the meeting. I think she probably shared with you, I was invited along with Mayor Koch and Quincy to give a speech outside of Brockton tonight for a development company that does a lot of work in the city of Champions in the city of Quincy, so that's why I'm a little tardy. I do want to thank Jose for his leadership. I had the honor to sit down with himself and Dr. Cobbs and the executive team cabinet last Friday morning here at Brockton High. So we are on agenda item 7, and that's the recommendations by Dr. Cobbs, acting superintendent, of next steps for Brockton High School.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me? So as Jose probably covered some of these things, but I'll just kind of reiterate some of the things we have in place and the plans that we need to put in place as well. One of the things that we, at the meeting that we met with Kim Gibson and some of the building reps, is taking a look at the floor teacher positions. I'm not sure if you all know that we cut the number of positions from, I think it was 16 last school year to 8, I think we have this year. So. It's green, but you can't hear me. Can't hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So the number of floor teachers was reduced from last year to this year, so that put us behind from the start. And then since then we've had at least one floor teacher resign as a floor teacher, and with the change in the administrative staff and it being new, and we're working on developing their skills as high school administrators, so that it put us in a bind, because there's any day there's 3 assistant principals, and they used to be the assistant deans, and those are the people that get the reports through the infinite campus system every day that shows some kind of whatever infraction it was for a student, whether it's cutting class or it's being tied to the class or it's behavior problems. So at the end of the day, you can imagine their inbox in the infinite campus has 200 offenses in there to try to keep up with, and it's their responsibility to do something about it, to have some sort of closure on it, to call a parent, talk to the student, issue demerits, whatever it is. It's a nearly impossible task for just a handful of floor teachers. So what we're looking at is, let's take a look at that role, and instead of them being out on the floor, for the length of time, we're trying to think out of the box and maybe have those floor teachers work with the assistant principals, making those phone calls during the day and meeting with the students during the day and assessing, who are the heavy hitters, how many kids, at the end of a day has, out of 6 periods, has 4 absences because they showed up in the morning on attendance, but they're missing 4 class periods. So those are the kids that are wandering around the building, and those are the kids that are in the bathroom. So it's almost impossible for 3 administrators to keep up with all those students in every house every day, all day long. So we're taking a look at reworking that position and not have them on the floor so much, because that's going to be the position or the responsibility of the safety and security specialists, and have them people out and about and responding to classroom calls and whatever it is to bring students out of the classroom or whatever. Monitor the bathroom, monitor the hallways, sweep the hallways, the stairwells. That'll be the responsibility of the safety and security specialists. So we're looking at, and that's what I've been telling the staff when I was here. Work with these adjustment counselors, and work with and look at who's on your caseload. They should be looking at, with the adjustment counselors, who's on your caseload. What does their attendance look like? What does their behavior look like? And we should be meeting with those students. We should be calling those parents and having meetings with the students and their parents. So with 3 people, it's just impossible to do. So my thinking, and with Sharon and I put our heads together to think about how can we better utilize those floor teachers and their time, and not have them literally chasing students around the building, but making the calls that maybe make a difference in changing the behavior and meeting with students and parents. So that's one thing. And we already discussed the hiring additional safety and security specialists. Excuse me. With that thought, reducing the floor teachers on the floor, adding more people, the security specialists on the floor. So I want to bump that number up to at least a total of 12 plus 6 more, 18 people, and we'll reassess it again. And Jose and Sharon and I will reassess it once we get those people on board in a couple of weeks to see if that's enough. If it's not, I'll put some more people out there. And those responsibilities again are safety and security of the building, and not doing behavior, assessments of students or calling parents or any of those sorts of things. That'll be the floor teachers with the assistant principals. So again, those people are working their way through the onboarding process, and the job ad will stay open. It'll stay perpetually open, and we'll hire people as they come up. So if you know anybody that's interested, tell them to apply. It's on Cool Spring. So then we looked at, I'm working with Sergeant Livingston. We've gotten quotes from 3 different security firms to do a short term, which to me is at least a month probably, a short term. And these people, private security, their responsibility will be to monitor grounds, to monitor doors so nobody goes in and out of the outside doors. They're not monitoring kids in bathrooms. They're not going to classrooms to bring students to the office. That's the security specialist. So this private security firm, it's not cheap. The typical cost is about $50 an hour per person. And we're looking at 8 people, 8 officers for a full week is $16,000 per week. So with a month in, that's about $64,000. Hopefully it helps Jose to, get the building secured and people aren't going in and out and smoking and leaving the building and coming back to go to McDonald's and hanging out all day and then coming back to the building to come in and get on the bus. So that'll be the responsibility of the private security people. You had a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dr. Cobbs. So private security, that's $2,000 security. Are they officers? It's just a private security firm?
Right.
We can't, we've had others come in and do what they're going to do for a lot less than $2,000 a person.
I have quotes from 3 different companies, and it's about the same.
I mean, I know we can't put a price
Prices
on
of everything have gone
safety,
up.
but
It's not cheap. But,
no, I understand, but just $2,000 a person to just monitor grounds, doors, bathrooms.
No, not bathrooms, just the outside doors and the grounds, because again, people coming in and out, and that was a problem. I'm not so much sure this year of people coming into the building that don't belong in the building, but the students are going out and they're underneath the gymnasium and smoking marijuana and hanging out in groups. So that was the responsibility of the private security people.
But this is only for a month.
Right.
And then after that, then they're going to just go back to doing what
Well,
they were
hopefully in
doing.
a month, we've gotten some of those students and through the behavior process and through what I just spoke about with the floor teachers and the assistant principals, we figured out who the students are and either got them in class, adjusted their behavior, or sent them to another program, another school somewhere.
Okay. Because I know last time we had, I know I was in one of the buildings when I was working on something, and there were teachers that were stationed at different doors just to monitor as far as students leaving, things like that. Okay, I was just curious because
I understand that. We did that before, but honestly, if I had those teachers to spare, I'd put them in the classroom and so the students aren't in the cafeteria.
yeah, it was lunchtime was a tough one. As I saw that personally.
Yes.
But lunchtime was a tough one, and there's a
The last
specific
period
area.
after lunch is the worst.
Yeah, it was a tough area. Okay, I just wanted clarification on that one. Thank you.
Ms. Azak, we'll figure out what the city pays. We have private security at the main library, the Thomas Kennedy Library, and also at City Hall. And I'll work with Dr. Cobb, so I don't know what the price point is, but we'll compare and contrast.
it
But
just-
he got the 3 quotes, so.
Yeah, no,
but we'll
definitely. I mean,
figure
it
out.
just seemed really high, that I'm sure we probably have, retired people that have been in, with security background. That maybe we can get them and maybe have them a little longer than the month. But again, we need safety. And maybe this is the
The
step we need
important
to
part,
take.
we need to secure the building and make it safe, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Rodriguez, please. You got me. Mr. Rodriguez, please.
I would never put a price tag on safety for the high school. But
Thank you.
Just with looking at those firms, shouldn't we be putting this out for bid?
You know, you're right, at that price, we probably should. Yeah,
Yeah, this I think that should go up.
Just put out an RFP, you're right,
Put out
because
an
it's over
RFP to make sure,
$10,000.
so.
Yeah, we'll work with Mike Morris, procurement officer, on that. I mean, the 3 quotes would only be under a certain threshold dollar amount, so we would have to do that. But I will ask Jim Plouffe, who's a commissioner of buildings, because he coordinates the private firms, again, at the library and at City Hall, so. But you're correct on that, Mr. Rodriguez.
Obviously, that will delay the process, you know, for 2 or 3 weeks before we can put anybody on board if we go through the RFP process. So maybe we can look at scaling down the number of people so it meets the threshold.
Any follow-ups? No. Mrs. Sullivan, please.
Yes, Dr. Cobbs. So this would just be for the outside grounds for this private firm?
Right, the outside grounds and inside the doors, you know, they'll be walking around the building from inside and out, yes.
So they'll be inside and outside, so
Right.
how are they going to be vetted? Same question as I asked.
Well, they're private security firms, and we obviously would check their background, and anybody they'd send would have to be, you know, queried and fingerprinted as well, you know, but.
Okay, so they would go through the same process
And
as
they
our
got, the
safety
company
and
would have their own
security
insurance
specialists?
and everything else, absolutely.
Okay.
But they wouldn't be in the school with students unless we did our own query and fingerprinting.
Right, you'd have to do your own,
Yep.
just like we do
Yeah,
with
we don't
any
accept any
employee.
outside companies, you know, fingerprinting and query background checks. We do our own.
Right. Okay, so we would do it just like we do with any employee?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sullivan. Mrs. Rivas-Mendez, please.
So what I'm understanding is that the security firm is acting as building monitors?
No, they're not building monitors. It's really just securing the building, you know, from inside and out, the grounds, and again, the students that, yeah, just the ground. They're not doing bathrooms. They're not doing, you know, classrooms when there's a call from the office to remove a student or whatever's going on. They're not going to interfere with student fights or any that kind of thing. That's the safety and security specialist positions. That's their job.
Are they restraint trained?
I'm sorry.
Are they restraint trained?
Their job is not to restrain students. The security and safety specialist will be, yes.
But let's say a fight would break up. What happens then? Are they get involved at all, or?
No, they should report it, you know, obviously. I mean, you know, it's situational. Obviously, if somebody's going to get seriously hurt, they would have to step in, but their job is not to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rivas-Mendez.
Exigent circumstances, of course, you know, you need an adult to intervene, but, so we will have those conversations, and Sergeant Livingston and I will, whoever we decide to put on board, we'll have those conversations with them.
Any additional questions? Vice Chair, please.
So, Dr. Cobbs, the safety and security specialists, we're looking at hiring 6 additional at 18. What is the hourly wage for that?
About $20 an hour.
So what would be, I mean, like, again, they're, to Ms. Rivas-Mendez's point, they are restraint trained as safety and security specialists.
Right.
So why wouldn't we consider hiring more on a temporary basis for a month versus hiring a private security firm?
We will, you know,
I'm just throwing it out there, like, and then,
well, one reason is because I want them inside the building, you know, and the other security people will be outside the building and doing the grounds and whatever else. But I need the security specialists inside, monitoring the bathrooms, chasing kids out of the bathroom, you know, going to classroom when there's a call for a behavioral problem or something. So that's the big difference. Their job is with the students and involved with the students.
do you feel that's like semantics, though?
No, I don't.
Okay, because I just keep thinking that if we hired instead of 18, maybe we got 24, then we'd have 6 additional security specialists that could be the grounds. I'm just brainstorming, throwing it out there, and, you know, in terms of $64,000 for the month versus, you know, paying somebody $20 an hour or 6 people at $20 an hour to do the same thing.
Yeah, well, I disagree. It's not not quite the same thing. It's similar, but again, these people, the security people, are not engaging the students. It's not their job responsibility. It's really securing the building and the grounds.
Okay, thank you.
Any members that haven't asked questions yet, like to ask a question, and then we'll do a follow-up, Mrs. Sullivan. She's already asked a question. Mrs. Sullivan, we'll go to you now. Thank you.
Dr. Cobbs, I was just wondering, do we have money for this in the budget? The
Yes.
64,000,
Yeah, we do.
have we put that through Mr. Clarkson and?
Yeah,
And-
yeah, we do. Actually, I went through every line item of the budget today just to prepare for this meeting, but we absolutely do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr.
It's
Homer.
okay. No, thank you. I think just to echo off what Ms. Sailors was just mentioning too, if we're going to go through a whole process of putting something out with RFP to look at bids for security too, I mean, it's probably worth crunching the numbers with Mr. Clarkson and looking to see what it would cost to hire more people that could interact with the students and utilize them. And it would be worth it, I think, to look at that. I would encourage us to look at what that would cost. And,
Well-
and having people on for more than a month.
I agree, and the month is a short-term fix because eventually, that's why I said the ad will stay open, so it'll be a revolving, hiring more people. But there isn't 20 or 30 people sitting out there waiting to come in. The security firm has the personnel to come in for the month to help secure the building.
Another follow-up, Mrs. Sullivan?
Dr. Cobb, so I do agree with Mrs. Ayler's idea of the access control with the $20 an hour. So I was interested in that compared to the 64,000. So I don't know if there's anything.
So we have to be careful with the access control people because we're in the middle of negotiations with that, with the people that are termed access control people. So I want to be careful about what we say in an open meeting because we're in the process of negotiations. It's a different position, and it really is their access control position is, bringing people into the building and making sure they're identified and where they're going to go, and so that's a different position altogether.
But we would still have to.
We
vet
still
the
have them,
private-
but there's only 4 of them. Right.
Oh, there's only 4?
Right.
On the private?
No, they're ours. They are employees, but there's only 4 access control people. You see them when you come in the
Yes.
main entrance.
Yes.
That's it. So,
Okay, thank you.
so-
No follow-ups on that, so we'll continue, Dr. Cobbs.
Okay. So the next item is after private security is long-term sub positions. Right now, I went through. I had a spreadsheet I went through this afternoon. So there are currently 29 open positions, teaching positions that we need to hire teachers for. The job ads are out for the most part. They've been out. And of those 29, we recently made offers and they were accepted by 2 teachers, they're auto mechanic teachers. We have 2 long-term subs in place, so that gives us like 4 positions that we actually have a sub for, somebody in the classroom on a consistent basis. Even though the 2 auto mechanics, they're not actually on board yet, they will be soon. So that leaves a lot of positions open every day, and that's why the kids are in the hallways. They're sitting in the cafeteria for 2 or 3 hours, and then they get up and wander. If you were one of them, you do the same thing, and you're sitting there all day long. They want to go see what's happening out there. So what we decided to do is fill the positions with teachers that can cover their prep period. We have an MOU with the union, and the job ads have gone out, and some of the teachers are already filling the positions. So it's up to like 30 positions a day that the teachers, if they want to work their prep period, they'll get paid for it, and they'll cover a class. And it's just literally just a short-term sub for the period, not for the day. So that's one of the things that they're working on. So I'm hoping, I don't know, Jose can, see how it's increasing, I think, daily a little bit, little by little, but it doesn't fill the need. So, well, that's one of the things that we're putting in place to cover what we call teacher without a sub, to help cover the classes. So that's in process for Gargos right now. The other thing is the administrative structure at Edison Day Academy. we really need, and I worked with Kim and I talked to the cabinet with Deputy Wolder. We need to restructure, take a look at that Brockton Day, Edison Day Academy, because it just needs more help. So we need an additional administrator there. So there'll be 2 administrators. And what I want to do is put one as a principal and the other one as the assistant principal. Because right now, Susan England is the assistant principal for the Green Building in Edison Day Academy. And by yourself, it's an untenable position. So we need another administrator. We need a principal for that building. And so that's my goal, is to put a principal there as well as the assistant principal to cover the whole building. So it's not just Edison Day, but the whole Green Building. Because we restructured that and we pulled out those administrators and administrative assistant, and we put in the person for Edison Day and another one for BVLA, and it doesn't work. So we need a full-time principal for that building and assistant principal. So that's the structure we're working on. And the position was already approved for the additional administrative, so that will be on board soon. We're working with the union and working with human resources to fill that position.
Mrs. Rivas-Mendez, please.
Yeah, when you talk about the Green Academy, the Green Building where the Edison Day Academy is, do you think adding another administrator, do you think it's like adding administrators, or is the problem the location where that school's being housed, right?
Both.
Before they were in Summer Street,
Right.
and that was the first year, and now they're here sharing the space with BVLA. And when I came to tour with Mr. Rodriguez, they were literally in one floor. And these are students with emotion impairment and other needs that just going from one location to the other for movement break is just not sufficient,
Right.
especially for that
I
population.
absolutely agree, and that's going to be a discussion further along here, but we need to really look at restructuring that, and I gave you, that's what you have a copy of, the draft of that years ago I created a Brockton Day Evening Academy draft, and so again with the cabinet we're looking at that and what's going to work for that structure, and we're talking about a lot of ideas, but right now at least with 2 administrators there, because one person can't handle everything, reports to the office, go to the classrooms, and I think they have 2 floor teachers assigned to it, so at least they need a full-time administrator there for the school itself, not do behaviors necessarily like the assistant principal does. So it will help. Is it the answer? Is it the panacea? No, but we're going to continue to work on the structure and what's the best model and the best location for that school. So.
And then when we continue to work on the structure, and I say this because I
absolutely.
specifically worked with the emotion impairment, especially special education, they don't do well with changes.
Right.
So once we decide whatever that structure is, can we decide it long-term versus just short-term?
Exactly, and part of having an administrator there, a full-time principal, is again looking at the student population there, and some of them should not be there, and I'm sure Mr. Duarte will agree that. So that's what the principal has the time to do. While the assistant principal does everything else, the principal needs to really take student by student and look at their needs and how we can support them. And it's probably not at the Edison Day Academy.
And I just wonder, are they having any opportunities to leave the building to do internships? Do they have any other options besides just the curriculum, which is the Common Core standards, right? That's what they're getting every day, but do they have other opportunities to expand their education?
I would dare say not, right now, because again, we don't have the administrative structure in place to start looking at those things with any detail and with a real focus. So.
And Dr. Cobbs, I know this has fallen on you. I know the decision that was made before wasn't yours, so I get it, but when we think about this structure, we have to think long-term because
Absolutely.
we can't continue to move these kids around.
That's exactly what we're working on. In the last cabinet meeting, we knew from day one that this just doesn't work. It makes no sense, but that's what we started with, and we have to work through it. So.
Thank you, Mrs. Rivas-Mendez. Vice Chair, did you have a question?
I did, but it was actually the same question as Ms. Mendez in terms of location and that sort of thing, so thank you.
Mr. Sullivan, please.
Yes, Dr. Cobbs. It's, on my sheet, it says that you need 2 total and was approved on Halloween.
Right.
By who? The school committee
Well,
approved it?
the process that we use for the position request form, we adding the position, so it went from Ms. Wolder and from the assistant superintendent to Troy's office for the budget, and then back to me to sign to approve it.
So Troy Clarkson has already approved it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions relative to this, this matter? Mr. Cobbs, Dr. Cobbs, will continue. Thank you.
Okay, so the next thing is that the result of Mayor, your follow-up on this one is the communication with the DA's office to the community-based juvenile justice program.
Yeah, I can give an update on that. So it was brought to my attention last Friday when we met in the principal's office. I reached out to DA Tim Cruz from the room. He actually was away for the weekend on an anniversary, but I met with him face-to-face on Monday. He's very supportive of the CBJJ, so he has an assistant DA assigned to this. We're going to have a meeting, you, myself, and he and the assistant DA to get this back reinstituted, so.
So the gist of the program is we do, I'll just put this in context. The champion, the AKA, the Edison Day, and before that it was, at the Keith Building was a champion in the EI program. The program has kind of morphed into something different than what it started out to be as Champion High School. It was a school designed for an alternate school for students that just really needed a smaller school environment, a smaller school community. It was not designed for students with behavioral problems like, because some of the students that were at the B.B. Russell before at the Keith Building, when I was principal there, it was a difficult building, and it was a mix of students. But the core Champion School program was students that weren't behavior problems, weren't necessarily emotionally impaired, and they just needed a smaller school environment. So over time, that program, it's moved from different places, but it's changed also. The mix of students was kind of like, more behavioral and more problems than just students that were, academically on task. So that's what I'm saying. We have to look at that again and what that program is supposed to be and what's the efficacy of the program in the first place. What's the goal? What's the model we're looking for? And it's probably going to go more towards the Day Union Academy. And again, this program, coming back to the community-based juvenile justice program, will help us to move some of those students in different places or support them in different ways than being, here in the Brockton High School on the 3rd floor, kind of swirling around the classrooms. So that's, it's part of the long-term, what's the school going to be and the efficacy of the school as well. So, all right, so on the next page on the back, so the other thing is, for the 3rd floor, and again, this was all kind of thrown into the mix, the Brockton Virtual Learning Academy, the Edison Day Academy, and some other kind of program students. So, we're reducing the footprint. We signed an MOA with the teachers union for this year, for the rest of the school year, to allow the virtual teachers to teach from home. It'll give them the option instead of all of them being in 2 or 3 of them, 4 of them in the classroom up in the 3rd floor here. So of those, probably half of them, I think, Kim, is that about right? About half of them decided that they welcome the opportunity to teach from home. Some want to stay here at the high school, which is interesting to me because there was complaints to the union about having to work on the 3rd floor with the students. But nevertheless, that's what they opted for. And I think 1, maybe 2 teachers decided that they wanted a hybrid model because one of them works at Edison Academy in the evening. So that will help reduce the footprint there and give us back some classrooms on the 3rd floor in the green building. So the principal, whoever comes in there, will have more to work with and less, hopefully more classrooms for students to be in the classrooms and not in the hallway. So that's the process. Just a reminder that you voted last year to eliminate the virtual elementary component of the virtual learning school. So next year that will go away. So it will just be the grade 6 through 12. Any questions on that?
Mr. Rodriguez, please.
No, this is just a point of information. so the community can know, and for the members that haven't been up here yet, you have the third floor. One hallway on the third floor is BVLA. The other hallway is the EDA program. And their enrollment is over 150 kids, students. That was the most porous decision-making ever. Whoever drafted this blueprint up, and you're in education, we all know how we got here. That was the poorest decision. Those kids are up there like sardines. That's why I stress the fact for this body to come up here and see it for yourself.
Mrs. Sullivan, please.
Dr. Cobbs, on the Edison Day and Evening Academy, okay, the part that you just said about the teachers will, now I lost my place here. Oh, here it is, yeah. The footprint of the BVLA.
Item number 7.
Okay. The teachers elect to teach from home. I know previous superintendent did say there was problems with that. So that's why they were brought back to teach here in their classrooms.
Well, that's what we have a principal for the school for, to monitor the instruction and monitor, what's going on online, and that's Diane Lynch, that's her job. And they also have a coordinator for the program, so.
Okay, so if they were gonna teach from home and there was some problems with it before, how would we monitor that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure I get tons of emails every day. Some parent will be reaching out to me if it's a problem, or the teachers.
So we're going to be watching it and,
yes,
and making
absolutely.
sure.
Again, we have a principal, we have a coordinator, we have counselors. They have a full staff.
Yeah, just so they know that we, that was the reason why they were brought back to the school, because there was some issues last year. Thank you.
Any other questions relative to this matter? Thank you, Dr. Cobbs. We'll move on.
Okay, so for Brockton High School, again, there's been problems, and we're working with Jose and Joe Campbell sitting there the teachers are saying that they can't hear the bells, that they don't understand the bell tones, the bells aren't loud enough, there's not enough speakers. So we're working. We just installed this system to a tune of $250,000 for the whole building, for a new PA system, a new phone intercom system for each building. So we find ourselves to help upgrade the system again. We have to run some more wires, install some more speakers, and adjust the bell tones, adjust the timing of the bell tones, because one of the problems is the students, and Jose can attest to this, you walk through the hallway and class is about to end and half of them are already out in the hallway. And so there's a twofold problem. One is, they're waiting for the bell and they can't hear the bell, so they're already leaving. The other is the teaching and instruction in the classroom. So why are they waiting at the door for 5-10 minutes before they're at the end of the class? So we'll address those things. But we're doing the practical part with Joe and getting the systems upgraded. So those things, those problems will be worked out. Relatively short money. I just put the cost in there. We expect to have the upgrades and completed by Tuesday. So they started on Monday. So.
Any questions relative to that? I want to thank you, Joe, for your assistance on that. Thank you.
Okay. The other thing that Jose mentioned earlier is, we really, because of the way the school year started, we had plans to bring the freshmen into the school for a day by themselves, and the sophomores and juniors were going to be outside on the field for a half a day and leave, and then the seniors were going to start a day later. And that all changed because the weather was going to be, 90, 95 was the weather prediction, I think, for that day. And being out on the field, it just wasn't going to work. So we ended up just pivoting at the last minute, literally, and bringing them all inside the building, and everybody started the regular school day. And then, of course, as you know, the infinite campus crashed on us, so the students couldn't read their schedules because we didn't print out schedules for them. So the freshmen really got off on the start. They just really thrown into the mix, and they really never had time to have that freshman orientation. And that's why Jose now is doing assemblies and meeting with the students and kind of trying to reset that so they can get a chance to understand what the expectations are, understand the school, and and bring the culture that they had when they were in 8th grade here at the Brockton High School instead of assimilating to kind of what some of the older students are doing now. So.
Mr. Rodriguez, please.
Sorry, just to go back to the PA system. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we just upgrade the system over $1 million to be on the same page? So what?
Well,
I'm just trying to
this-
understand. It's like what are we missing here?
Well, they're saying that they can't hear it, and one thing you have to understand here is there's a issue with rodents, and they chew through the wires, and they chew through the wires in the speakers. So that's why we install it and it works, and then it doesn't work in some locations. So. And that's why the upgrade is most of that, almost $5,000. It's just to pull the wires to different locations and install new speakers.
So this is just a wiring problem,
Yes,
not
yeah.
the actual.
It's not
system
the
itself?
equipment itself. They had in equipment in each house in the main office. It's not that the equipment. It's signal's not getting out there.
Now, when we installed it, was that in house or did we subcontract that out to get that installed?
We subcontracted it out.
Is there some type of? I mean, I understand Ronus, but so are we doing this in house now, or is this going back?
No,
out to
they're
the
here
company?
all the time. They're still under warranty. And, again, joking, nod his head back there. We have the people from the contractor here, if not weekly, with Joe himself to go through the system and one into the other. It's still under warranty. We just installed it.
And that included new speakers in every classroom's hallways.
No, we didn't do new speakers in every classroom.
So
we
we just
did new telephones. So
So
they
it's
could
just
call.
the
It's
phone.
two separate systems. The one is the PA that does the announcing, and the other one is the actual call the office. They have to pick up the phone. So it's two separate systems. So the PA system, a lot of it relied on the old speakers and the wiring that was in place. And then the new phone system, same with the phones actually, because we use in a lot of cases the existing wiring, but some of it's faulty.
So, I know we approved the clock system. So how I know it's not installed yet, but how is that going to affect the wiring to install those? Because we approved, I believe, 300 or so. So, I mean, that was part of, because I know there was a different mechanism.
Yeah, it is. The clocks work on the wireless system, and they work on the existing router system that's in the building, but we have to install actually electrical outlets in every location that the clocks will be installed. So that's a work in progress. They're being installed this year.
So now with those clocks, are those actually being done in-house, or is that being subcontracted out?
In-house.
In-house. Do we have a time frame how long this is going to take, or is it staffing?
Yeah, it's
we
staffing.
approved this over a year ago, and it's just
And it's really our electricians that have to go to every classroom and install them, so it's ongoing. There's a lot of classrooms and office locations to install in this building, so it's in progress.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Azak, please.
Thank you. Actually, Mr. Rodriguez had touched base on a couple of my questions. So just to touch base on the clocks, we've had them for quite some time. What is the warranty on those? Because they're just sitting in boxes. What if we have defective ones that we're not aware of? And
They'll replace
it's
them.
been a year.
Well, to address that, the warranty, I'm not sure what actually out of the box the warranty is. 3 years, thanks, Joe. So once we install them up in the box, but understand that this contractor, initially we were looking at installing these in every building, in every classroom. So they'll honor the warranties. They'll replace the parts as we need to.
Okay, no, I remember that. And then as far as the PA system, there's nothing they can put onto the wires, like some kind of a casing, so they can't chew through this?
You're
I mean-
talking literally miles of wire.
Oh, okay,
It's like
well-
going crawling through the walls. It's easy to replace it with.
I just wasn't sure if it was a specific area
When
that
we
they're
do
constantly
replace it, we-
getting to.
Yeah, when we do replace it, we use it. The wire we use nowadays it's harder and it rodents resistant because they want to bite into it and they don't like it. So.
I just wasn't sure if it was a specific, like, specific areas that are constantly getting chewed. Those, I know
Well,
they
if that were
make
the case, we'd
protectors.
probably run it in conduit instead of actually going
Yeah.
through the ceiling. So, but
Okay, thank you.
But they still, I mean, they get into the speakers, they get into the equipment in the offices, you know. At some of the schools, that we just have to replace a unit at East, and it failed because they put a nest inside the unit in the main office. You know. It's just the way it is.
Follow up for Mr. Rodriguez, please.
Just a quick question. I don't know if Mr. Can we? I know you have to do the electrical component with those clocks that we have. Can we at least hang them up instead of just sitting at the warehouse?
Yeah, we have to hang them up and plug them in. You know,
plug in, or you have to wait prior to putting the electrical. I mean, because they're just sitting there. You know, because if I'll be honest with you, if I knew that this was going to be, I would have never. I mean, I didn't vote for it in the first place, but we brought the numbers down. If I knew that they were just going to sit there, we spent all that money and it's just sitting in a warehouse, doesn't make any sense.
But you have to understand, we also installed them in 2 other schools already. So they're being used, they're being taken out there. We finished the re-engagement center. It used to be the Promise School, and we installed them over at Summer Street in the Promise School. And they're working. I mean, they're synchronized and they work, and they do the alerts. It just takes time. We're doing it in-house, and we have 3 electricians. And they're doing other jobs, and Joe, and they're addressing other work orders at the same time.
So we can go back to freshman orientation is where we were before we went back to the other matter. Any questions on freshman orientation for Dr. Cobbs? We'll continue to move on. Thank you.
The other thing that we just met with the union, and Kim and I met this morning, and we were looking at, there was such a thing as it's called a Student Discipline and Accountability Task Force that was with administrators and teachers and union members, union reps. And I guess they convened and they met a few times, but they never made any recommendation. And then you can see the time period that it was active was September 2018 to August 31st, 2021. But to my knowledge, there was never any recommendations made on student discipline, and so we're looking to reinstitute that and do another MOU to get that going again.
Mr. Rodriguez, please.
What would the structure be, with this task force? How would it be structured?
Kim, you want to answer it? Because I wasn't around when they created that, so I don't, unless Sharon, you have the background on that? It was before my time, so.
So each level has a specific number. We do have an MOA. I can get it to all of you. Sarah Spatafor is working with Colin Confoy, and basically every level met, and they were supposed to make some recommendations to school committee, look at your policies, how can they be implemented. So the structure is a joint labor management committee, basically, so that everyone has buy-in and they're vested in what decisions get made. So I want to say high school had 8 people. I think it was 8, and 16 possibly for elementary. So high school, middle school, elementary is the structure that we had then. I don't know, Sarah, if you can remember anything else from it. So I apologize, I don't have it with me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll work through the MOA process again and present it to you guys for approval to reinstitute it, basically. So.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any additional questions for Dr. Cobbs relative to this matter? We'll move on.
So, and again, Jose already spoke to the teacher absences, and again, on average, you'll start getting, it's called everyday LVAN sends out the PAWS, PAWS, and it lists every teacher absent. And on average, it's 20 to 25 teachers. So you'll start getting that tomorrow morning. We'll make sure it gets sent out to you. And again, like Jose mentioned, we decided to call an audible and dismiss school early last Friday so we could meet with the teachers and discuss a number of things. But the chief among them is, one, we have, like I just mentioned, 29 teachers that we need to hire and fill positions. And we have, teachers that are absent, 20 to 25 teachers every day. So that's why I have students in the cafeteria. I did the numbers because of the spreadsheet I had, and it works out to be about almost 1,200 students a day sitting in the cafeteria. So this is why we have the problem of students wandering the building and not in classrooms, because they don't have a classroom to be in, and we don't have literally an adult to put in the classroom in front of them right now. So that's why I introduced that, the 30 subs a day, and in the sub the sub job ad is out perpetually as well. So, we need staff to be in the classroom with the teachers. So that's what we're working on. But again, Jose is going to start meeting individually with teachers, and he's got some guidance from the Human Resources Department on how to do that. And I will support him fully on what needs to be done to get teachers to come to work.
Mr. Rodriguez, please.
Just, it's, how do I want to put this? It's their sick time. They get to use it, contracts, so forth. But, it comes to a point where enough is enough. I actually had a student call me, and she came up to the school, and she didn't have an educator for the whole day. So she basically came to school just to sit in the cafeteria and study out for the whole day.
And that's why they're in the hallways. You can't blame them. You're sitting there all day long. I can't blame the kid. You get up and move around, or leave the building.
I've seen it firsthand, and that's just one student. There's plenty more. We walked in, there was over 100 students sitting in the cafeteria with one, educator, watching. That's very concerning. But obviously, I support it. Making sure that we do everything in our powers to make sure that these educators are in the building teaching, and it all stems. If I take a step back and look at it, I honestly believe the root of it is safety.
Yeah, I agree.
I did talk to a lot of the staff here, and they're not coming in because they feel unsafe, and we have to make sure that we give them the tools to make sure that their school is safe as possible, so they could be in here, so these kids not losing very important learning time.
Absolutely. And again, I just want to say, and Kim's there, again, we had a conversation this morning, just like with the students, there's 3,700 students here, and 3,500 of them are going to class and doing what they're supposed to do every day, all day. And it's the same with the teachers. We have a great cadre of teachers here that come here, they're dedicated, committed to students, and they do what they're supposed to do. They come to work every day. So, and we have also teachers that have legitimate medical reasons why they're out on long-term leave. So, it's not everybody in one basket. There are just others that, I think last week, was it Jose, there was one teacher that has been to work actually 13 days and without any long-term medical reasons or anything, right? So it's a combination, confluence of issues that we have to make the building safer and get people here. But when we get them here, we can work on the hats and the hoodies and the crop shirts from the classroom, not chasing them around the corridors.
Mrs. Sullivan, please.
Dr. Cobb, so I know in the past, this cafeteria model here that we have to use for if we don't have a teacher without a sub, I don't know if this is the correct wording, you can correct me, or Mrs. Walder can correct, or maybe Kim Gibson, that there was a directed lesson, so they're not just sitting in the cafeteria, because that's what is out there. There's some sort of lesson in the cafeteria or work that the students are doing that we can't have children just sitting in a cafeteria, students sitting in a cafeteria.
So we do actually have directed academic studies, in that there's usually 2 teachers in there, and there's typically, 30 or so students in the room at a time with those 2 teachers. But in the cafeteria, like Tony just said, you might have 100 students there with one teacher. So it's really difficult, and that's for the ones that actually go to the cafeteria and show up.
So we do have some sort of...
Not in the cafeteria, in the directed academics, which is, there's a room similar to this. It's a large classroom, and students go, but that's their study period. That's built into their schedule. It's not because they have a teacher absent.
So do you think we could maybe work towards having something that the students are doing in the cafeteria? We could work towards that, and with the principal, Mr. DeWart, we could come up with an idea of something that the students are supposed to be doing in the cafeteria, and I think that might solve some problems also. If we could kind of look at that, I'm looking to you and the principal.
We're open to any ideas,
Mrs.
anything
Walder.
that gets them there and keeps them there, absolutely.
And the executive team or the cabinet to come up with some ideas on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Mr. Homer, please.
I'll go out on a limb here. I'll put my neck out here. Teachers absent without a sub. I remember that from my time here a long time ago. It's been around forever. One of the things we used to do too, if we ran into that scenario, is if we had a teacher who would let us come to class, is get a pass to go to
another classroom.
go to a
Yeah,
class with the
okay.
teacher we knew to be there. That's a real logistics nightmare, I know. But if there's a chance that you have a student like Mr. Rodriguez said who doesn't have any teachers that day, we know there's students absent too, and there's empty chairs. And if there's any opportunity that a kid could go to attend a math class with a different teacher, same topic, geometry, algebra 2, whatever it is, and just get some learning, even by going to a different person's room, if that teacher would allow it, if there's a way to poll the teachers or to work with the union, see if that's a possibility.
Right.
If you've got empty chairs and you got kids that want to come up to the front to the teacher, take a pass, sign up, go, get permission to go to that class. I don't know if that's something we could look at, but I know that if there's kids that want their opportunity and are willing to come up and sign up to go to a different physics class or a different English class, whatever it is, I'm sure they would probably rather do that than sit in the cab or wander. So.
Yeah, that's not a bad suggestion. But again, you mentioned already that you have to be concerned about with the union and the class sizes, because if you walk down the hallway, like Tony said, come and visit the school for a while. I walk by the classroom to go in the classroom. The chairs are full. I mean, there's a lot of students in the classroom. There's a lot of bodies in the classroom. There really is. So again, when they're in the classroom, so it's a great suggestion. But again, we have to, teachers, even though they might love the student that wants to come and join them, it's like, yeah, I don't have a chair for you. But,
Any other members of the committee have any questions for Dr. Cobbs relative to this matter? I think that concludes Agenda 7. We'll go on to Agenda 8 at this time. Recommendations by Dr. Cobbs, Acting Superintendent, regarding facility space.
okay. So like I mentioned, I gave you this draft proposal. It's confidential. Only you have it, and we'll discuss it, because I asked for some time on our meeting on the 14th for executive team time meeting, because there's some few things I want to discuss. They're really just beginning ideas that we even need to discuss them in executive session for longer term solutions to Brockton High School and other locations. But so this I gave you, it's just a draft, and I gave it to the executive team, the cabinet, Monday. So we're all kind of just starting to chew over it. But back when I was principal at Edison Academy and the Enderkeith Building, the Champion and B.B. Russell, Kathy Smith asked me to put together a proposal for a day and evening academy. So this is really a bare bones framework, in which you want to build upon. And part of our discussion is that we really want to take a look at the virtual academy and maybe incorporate that into the day evening academy as well. So there's day evening virtual academy classes. So we're looking at a lot of things, and it's rudimentary in its development. Again, you say it's 2015-16 when I was principal of the other building, both buildings. So look through it, and we're going to take this as a kind of jump-off point to start looking at how to construct and the day evening academy, and what are the components, and what the organizational structure is going to look like, and what's the administrative structure. So that's the day and evening where we're beginning to take a serious look at it, because it's just not working right now. It was supposed to be a day evening academy, but it's just literally just two schools. One's upstairs in the daytime doing their thing, and then the evening, Edison Academy, it's been going on in the evening for quite a while, and that's running pretty well. So to try to integrate that structure in those organizations, it's not just simply you label one Edison day and Edison evening, and it's a lot more work that needs to be done for that. So. Any questions on that? So we're rethinking, redesigning, because, like you said, Cynthia, there was, it really wasn't kind of developed what the plan was, and just throwing everybody in the same building. So we're going to try to fix that. If we can fix it for this year or even next semester, it'd be great. But we'll see as we start to develop and bring people into the mix. Okay, the re-engagement center. So right now, the re-engagement center is where the Promise School used to be at 440 Belmont Street in the middle of the fairgrounds. So again, we met with the cabinet, we've talked, and with Jamie, because the re-engagement center, it's just that, and it's just getting off the ground, and we found that it doesn't have a principal or a coordinator. It doesn't have a dedicated administrator to facilitate the program, work with the staff, develop the program, develop a plan to bring kids in to actually re-engage them, to bring them back into the Brockton Public Schools. So one of the things we decided, we need an administrator there, would be a coordinator. The other thing that I would like to do is move them from the fairground. It's a small building, and we have adequate space for them over at hopefully, we mentioned earlier, Mayor, the guarded building. I know we have programs there, and I can work with the Sabora organization to move that program to other schools in the evening and in the summer programs, so we can have the building for ourselves for the re-engagement center. They could probably still use the building in the summer because the students are out of school, so we could work with them to figure out where to place their evening and any other programs, so we could have the daytime used for the students. Just to give you some quick numbers right now. Of course, the guarded building we're already paying all the utilities for. The utilities, I think I mentioned the electricity utility is about $10,000 a month, and the gas is probably half of that, and the security, and we maintain the building, we clean it, so it's still our school building. So I'd like to work with the Sabora organization to figure out what they need and where we can move them to. But the fairgrounds lease with the triple net is about almost $200,000 a year. So if we move them out of the fairgrounds and move them to guarded, we're already paying for the guarded building, so it just makes sense. And they get more space at the guarded building than they have now at the fairgrounds.
Dr. Klopp, quick question. I know we had talked about the Goddard in the past, elevator, and then also gymnasium. What would be your thought relative to that?
Well, where they are now, they don't have a gymnasium. We'd have to work on something for them, and we have, large rooms like they have now they can use for indoor physical activity. We wouldn't need the elevator right now because we're not going to use the second floor.
You're not gonna go up, you're just gonna use first floor.
They can use the first floor, which is the same what they have over at the fairgrounds. They have one level and less square footage. So.
Okay.
So we could work on later. We're still working on maybe buying a lift at some point. But it's comparable to where they are now. We already pay for it.
Right,
We own it. So.
Okay. Any questions from the members? Ms. Azak, please.
Thank you. Dr. Cobbs, just a quick question. So the electricity is around $10,000 a month for the Goddard. Gas, around $5,000. And then you have security and custodian. So we're probably looking at $200K a year.
Yeah, so
For
if you
something
get it all
that-
together, it's $400K with what we're paying for the lease at the fairground.
So, and you're right, because we are paying for a lease. What I'm finding, and I'm not sure if others that have seen this over the years, is all we do is we just keep moving from one building to another and just paying leases. We really need to just look at what we have and consolidate. And this is, it's a great opportunity for those that have been using the Goddard, but we just don't have the funds. We do need to look at this. That was an eye-opener at one of the meetings when you mentioned how much we pay for electricity, just electricity alone. So
That's
definitely.
typical of most of our buildings. It's between $10,000 and $14,000 a month for electricity.
Which is, again, I know we've discussed this over the years about trying to look into, I don't want to get off topic, but look into solar.
Right.
So, because our utility bills are just really high. But, no, definitely as far as the Goddard. And because the Goddard has the cafeteria. The only thing it didn't have was a gym. And I believe years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, but we moved the students from the Goddard to the Huntington to the Gilmore to the Barrett.
Right.
So we did all that shifting
Right.
a few years ago, so we can have the students have the gymnasium.
And they're done. They stay where they are. We move them back to the guarded building, and because it's a different program, it's different, and it's not the same a large population of students like it was for the Huntington School. You know, these students are, for a better lack of a better word, they're transient. They're there for a period of time and they go back to their sending schools. They don't graduate from that school. It's in and out for adjustment, re-engagement, whatever it is, and then they, after a period of time, you know, they go back. And we also wanted to use it as a 45-day evaluation center for students, instead of getting students sitting them out of district, which, you know, I sign the requisitions every day for the out-of-district placements, and it's 22,000, it's 30,000, it's 44,000. It's ridiculous. So for these estimates.
Dr. Cobbs, on average, how many students do you have in the re-engagement? Just on average, not a specific number.
I think that we're just starting, so there's maybe, I think on paper there's 100, but attending it's probably 30, maybe, because we're just starting to set up for the middle school, so it's just a few high school students. When I went there, the day I visited, probably in 3 classrooms, there was probably 10 students each, so maybe about 30 students.
And the Goddard holds how many students? I don't remember offhand.
They're large classrooms, more than
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I've been in there quite a few times. I just don't remember what their capacity is.
Yeah, there's, I think, 5 large classrooms, more than they have over at the fairgrounds.
Okay. All right. And we'd be able to work out something with Sabora,
Yeah, absolutely.
because that is a wonderful program.
Yeah, I'll
that
reach
they
out to
offer.
Lenny so we can figure out what the needs are, and also with Dr. DeBarros. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez, please.
Thank you. So what would we be looking for a time frame with this transition? Is this something that at the end of the school year, or is this something
No,
that you're
I
trying
would like to do
get
this,
done by
you
the
know,
end of the year?
After the holidays, you know, probably, you know, when we return from the holidays, I think. What do you think, Sharon? Is that reasonable? Yeah.
I'm a bit concerned because we haven't talked to anyone about it yet, and to have them move would require that we have a place for them to move to. So before we put a timeline on it, I think we need to come together with the people who are going to be impacted by it.
Good point.
And come with a reasonable timeline for you and for them and for us.
Thank you. Okay, so that's re-engagement center. The next item on the agenda is the Brockton Therapeutic Day School. You know, they're literally in a good place right now. That building is perfectly suited for this small student population. When I visited there and walked through, I walked in the classroom. Again, these are the students that are the behavioral students. Obviously, that's why it's called the Brockton Day Therapeutic Program, formerly the Huntington program. It's a small space, it's a small population. Same thing, you know, initially when we went into that building, I think it's been almost 2 years now anyway, we've leased it, and we finally have the space upstairs and downstairs. The goal was to buy the building. And at the time, Joyce, I'm not sure if you remember, it was under $4 million. It was less than $4 million, just like the Summer Street building, which is a great price for a school that's already fully developed. We don't have to do much to it. To use it as it is and keep the program there. So that's something I really would advocate for, purchasing that building and keeping the therapeutic program there. You know, some of the things that we need to do further down the road is, you know, they do have a space, a large room that they use for a workout room, for a better lack of a better word. But and they also, we were looking at across in the mall, they have the workout world. They have students have, you know, passes to go there to do physical education. Address the concerns from the second floor. We need to put in another egress, but I think down the road, and putting my operations hat back on in construction, it would be very easy on the end of the building to put a small space metal building, just like the one we have over at the Summer Street building, a small gymnasium with a second floor where you can put in the cafeteria, and that's it. You know, in a couple of years that would be outfitted, and it's a perfect location for that school. So that's my recommendation, to purchase the school and down the road add on, I think very economically, you know, a gymnasium and cafeteria.
I think the only difference is on the Summer Street $4 million acquisition, we got reimbursed 100% from ARPA from the feds, so that's a different idea of what this would be. Ms. Azak, please.
Thank you. So I know when this came up before, some of my concerns were, so the parking on when you go to the second floor in the back, the parking, I believe there's a dialysis center as well. Is that the same owner for both buildings, and is that a shared parking?
I don't think so, but most of that parking belonged to the building, the Westgate.
To the building,
265
okay.
Westgate.
Because my concern was getting, because I know we had talked about putting some of the younger students up there, and just getting the buses in and out of there and causing the traffic issues as far as the dialysis center and the medical facility.
Well, it's a large parking lot. There's plenty of room to make a U-turn, but you're only talking a couple of small buses. They're not full-size buses that go through there because they get into special population, and not all of them take a bus. So it's a couple of we call them mini buses, that 2 or 3 of them, that's it.
And the first floor is completely empty now.
No, the first floor is occupied. We have the IT department is there. We have the community schools on the first floor.
It's BPS. It's not non-BPS.
Except for the church,
Okay. And how long is their lease?
I don't know. I think they were in limbo waiting for us to decide what we were going to do. So he didn't kind of push the envelope, but that's still an option.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions relative to this matter?
Actually,
Yep.
sorry.
Follow up, Ms.
What do we,
Azak?
I know this was a concern and this was brought up. Are we paying $35,000 a month for that? And that's
Triple net.
Triple net.
Right.
So that has everything with the 35 a month.
Right.
Okay. Will they take anything that we've already paid and nope, they won't apply it?
Joe's tough. He's a tough guy. A realtor. He's a property owner. So I doubt it.
But he's also got an empty building.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah, we'll have to negotiate. It's kind of where it's at. He's been wanting to sell that building and get out of it since we met him. But we kind of morphed into leasing the whole space and as people moved out. So again, my recommendation, it's a great building. It's in great shape. It's a good location, and it suits that therapeutic program perfectly.
Any additional follow-up questions for Dr. Cobbs relative to this matter? We'll continue.
Wouldn't that need to go before the facilities building, facilities subcommittee for approval? Okay.
Yeah, so we'll put that on the agenda, definitely, but, yep. And I can, he's a little upset right now because our bills are being paid slowly right now, so I have to wait till he gets a check before I talk about buying the building, but, so we'll give him a minute. But, so right now, things are settled where, we have most of the use of the building, so it's fine. So the other thing is at Brockton High School, like I said earlier, I'm going to request some time executive session to discuss a long-term strategy for Brockton High School and some ideas to work with you on. So we'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting. The Huntington building, so now that it's empty right now, and I'm working with me and Ken, and the engineer architects are walking through. So my suggestion, my recommendation is to, again, if we keep the therapeutic day school where it is, the Huntington building is just not suited to that population. You walk through it, every corner, there's so many places for students to hide and open the doors and get out. And when Jay was the principal there, he had me and Ken over there several times. Can we close the doors? Can we put walls up? It's like, no, you can't block an egress. You can't. But there's so many different, it's like catacombs there. So my recommendation is to not have it in a therapeutic program anymore because it's not suited well for that population, and to open it in September as a pre-K school. So we'll have 2 pre-K schools in the district, and it gives us a lot of latitude and a lot of flexibility to do the pre-K programs. It's a revenue center for this district, and it serves obviously the community with giving us 2 double session programs, day and afternoon sessions for the student population. And you have some numbers in front of you. And again, this building is suited, it was an elementary school. It's suited well for the younger population. Because again, those students don't go to class on their own when the bell rings. They're escorted by a teacher in their classrooms most of the day. They're very large classrooms. So I think it would lend itself well to open up as a pre-K. So they'll end up with two pre-K programs in the district, the Barrett Russell and the Huntington pre-K.
Any questions for Dr. Cobbs relative to that? Mrs. Sullivan?
Okay, Dr. Cobbs, so these preschool classrooms, are they the role model program preschool with, is that what all of these are, or just the Barrett has that?
Yeah, all the ones that you have listed there, this is where we actually pushed into the schools, the existing elementary schools, we pushed in those number of pre-K classrooms into the buildings. So you have to understand that, the elementary schools were not designed as pre-K schools, and the principals are not pre-K early childhood, educators, so it's a lot of work for them to accommodate that population. The Barrett Russell, that's what they do. That's what it was designed for, and they have the correct student teacher population and principal for the building. But you can see, unless you want me to read all these, Barrett Russell has 13 classroom, 26 half-day sessions. At the Unknown, we pushed in 4 classroom, 8 half-day sessions. Brookfield, 3 classrooms, 6 half-day sessions. Downey, 4 classrooms, 4 full-day sessions. Downey's a special population, high special needs population, the student with disabilities. At the George, we pushed in 3 classrooms, 6 half-day sessions. At Gilmore, 2 classrooms, 4 half-day sessions. Hancock, 2 classrooms, 4 half-day sessions. And the Adult Learning Center has a 1 half-day session because they have, those students have children that they bring into the daycare center. So it's 32 pre-K classrooms existing now in the district with 241 students.
So this is currently this year?
I'm sorry?
This is operating this year?
Those are operating now that we pushed into the existing elementary schools. So that works out to be like an additional 18 classrooms that we pushed into the existing elementary schools. So the Huntington has a capacity, with using just the first and second floor, we have a capacity of 20 classrooms there. So they can fit easily into the Huntington building.
Okay,
So-
and then we just have to keep in mind that the state is not funding us for preschool, so we need to look at that. What's that costing us with the budget for preschool?
Not funding us?
The state is not fully funding us for preschool, right?
Well, I believe they do.
I'm not sure
I
that
can check on that, but I do believe we get paid for them. We don't get a full day funding because it's only a half-day session, like we would a student in any other classroom. But we do get paid for the half-day session.
Right, but they're not fully funding preschool for us to operate a fully operational preschool, I don't believe. I would have to look into that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we have to have half-day sessions. And
Yeah, that's why we'd have, same thing here, we'd have double half-day sessions for each student, so.
Right, and we have to
You
pay
have
all
more
these
capacity for
teachers.
that way you get paid twice. I mean, you get a full day's pay basically for 2 half sessions.
Right, and the cost of the teachers and the aides that are needed for these rooms,
Right.
we need to take that into consideration.
Well, we have the teachers now, and so we'd have to, some would maybe relocate, but some we'd have to hire teachers, but, we're using them now in the elementary schools. So.
Right, thank you.
Vice Chair, please, followed by Mrs. Rivas Mendez, please.
I think you're both saying the same thing. So
I think so, I
yeah.
agree.
You're right, Judy. We didn't get fully funded for full days.
Right.
But we do have funding for the half days that we
Half-day for
currently
each
have.
child, right.
Yeah. But that wasn't my question, sorry.
So it's 2 half days, we get funded, it works out to be a full day.
Exactly. Quick question. We have 32 pre-K classrooms right now with 241 students. The Huntington pre-K will give us at least 19 new pre-K classrooms. Will those 19 fit the whole 241, so we have one We have one building with all our pre-K students.
The Huntington will give us about 400 to 500 student capacity.
Awesome, perfect, that's what I wanted to hear, thank you.
Mrs. Rivas Mendez, please.
So we just need to consider that pre-K is so important in our community.
Absolutely.
This is not enough classrooms.
Did you see my last bullet?
Yeah. And the reason why I say that, no, definitely, and you've been advocating the whole time. But the different why I mentioned that is because when I first got on the committee, we passed the policy of the late bird, right? So think about it. Before, kids were able to start kindergarten. My son, for example, can't start kindergarten because he just turned 5 in Halloween. So we have to consider that just because childcare is so expensive.
Exactly.
It's almost unaffordable. So if we pass a policy like that, we know the consequence is I have to pay daycare until my son
bird babies,
is
right.
almost 6 years old, right? So I think it's really important that because we passed the policy, that now we think about, okay, what's the impact that our community has, and what are the increased resources we can give because of the decision we made.
Right. I think it'll fill up. We'll fill those 400 seats in a minute. So.
Easy. We need more than that. That's what I'm trying to say,
Right.
because of the decision we made.
Right. But this gives us the opportunity. We have an empty building that we're going to rehab anyway. We just decide we need to figure out, okay, we're going to rehab it, so it's going to be a pre-K school instead of a therapeutic day school. So.
I have another question.
Got to go to Ms. Azak, and then I can go to a follow-up. Ms.
Sure,
Azak,
thank
please.
you. So Dr. Cobb's, a couple of questions. Actually, Mrs. Rivas Mendez actually touched base, because all we did talk about when I first came on the committee was the Burr babies, and we need the pre-K. So the Barrett Russell would stay as a pre-K. Would these classrooms at the different elementary schools and the adult learning center, are those going to be moved to the Huntington? They're going to be removed from our elementary schools.
Correct.
But the Barrett will stay as the
Right,
Barrett's
right.
always
so
been.
There'll be 2 pre-K centers, the Barrett Russell and Huntington.
Okay. So the Huntington is a large school. I was there yesterday. No, today. Setting up for next week. So we got the MSBA. They did the roof and they've done other work. So it's not empty because we have IT there. Sorry. It's fine as long as IT's there with the MSBA, because it's not an empty building.
Right.
Because I know we can't keep it empty for a certain amount of time.
Right.
Or, there's certain requirements when we do repairs with the MSBA. So we're fine just having the IT there.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. And then I know when you mentioned this to us before, what are we looking at? Because the first time you mentioned it, the dollar amount was very high. And
Right.
that's why,
Well, that was because we won the Cadillac.
well, that's why we looked at a potential space building, the metal building,
Right.
over at the old Shaw
Right.
School. So do we have some numbers? Because it
We're
was
working
in
on
the
that now,
millions
but-
and millions of,
but-
it was like extremely high when
But
we first
we're
looked at
working
it.
on that now, and again, my original idea was to, if you're familiar with the building, every classroom, in between the classrooms, there's like a little sink in the area. My thought was to make that into a bathroom between each classroom. Would have been really expensive. So now we walk through the bathrooms on the first floor, fine. We'll probably need to add 2 bathrooms on the second floor that are equivalent to, multiple use, for students on the second floor. So it really cuts down on the amount of plumbing that we have to do, because unlike in your house, when you can use PVC pipe in a building like this, it's steel pipe. So it's very expensive and time consuming. So adding 2 bathrooms, the major expense will be the gymnasium, because that's pretty much a total we have. But we plan to do it with all in-house assets instead of putting out the bid. So that will save us quite a bit of money. So.
And are we able to adjust the school? No, adjust our students to the school. And I brought this up during our facilities is rather than bringing in the smaller sinks and the smaller toilets, we're gonna,
Yeah, we can give them steps. To
again,
step up.
they have regular size sinks and toilets at home.
Right.
But we can do the step up like a little platform again, they're not going alone, they're going with their teachers
Exactly,
or
right,
staff.
exactly.
So that
So
would also help.
we will change the plumbing fixtures anyway and upgrade the bathrooms and clean them up, but it won't be, again, major plumbing rehab.
Okay, so it'll be more of a cosmetic more than,
Exactly. It's going to be mostly, we'll replace the carpets with carpet squares. We're going to replace the ceiling tiles and new fixtures, the LED fixtures, and paint the walls and new technology for the classroom, and that's pretty much it.
okay, and they do have the cafeteria downstairs.
Yes. So we don't plan on using the basement level where the storage is and where the IT department is.
So I'm going to be able to stay there?
Yep, you'll be able to stay there.
Just checking,
And
making
it
sure.
also gives us more storage because there's still classrooms on the bottom floor that we don't use. In the cafeteria, we won't need to use because it's half-day sessions. We won't provide a lunch.
They won't
or,
do snacks or anything?
Just snacks in the
Okay.
morning.
All right,
So
so
Rodrigue-
the dollar amount is what I'm curious about, just to see.
Well, I'm
Again, we're
working on it
using a
now.
building we already have, and
Right.
we're going to just pretty much do
Cleaning it up,
cosmetic
painting it
and,
up, and we're not doing any major changes or anything to it, any construction, moving walls or anything, just,
and you're looking at September of 2024.
yep.
So we would have to start our registration, is it in March or April that they start getting the registrations going?
Right.
So it's really not that far away.
No, it isn't.
Okay. Again, does this need to go to facilities for approval?
Yep, that's, absolutely, we could discuss it further in facilities and then.
I'm not sure, that way we can.
For a vote,
Mr.
yeah, I think
Mr.
so.
Holm, we
You
can
have to-
schedule a facilities, that way if it needs to go for approval,
Mm-hmm.
that we discuss it. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez, followed by Mr. Sullivan, please.
So this is only going to be for half-day sessions. We're not going to have a number of classes that are going to be full-day, correct?
Right.
So,
So we have those at the Barrett Russell already.
yeah, so my question, I was just going to ask, obviously it's half-day, so I was just trying to see, if there's going to be plans for that playground to be upgraded
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, we have a large space outside. We're thinking, put in a basketball hoop and in the grass area, we could make like a soccer field. Yeah, we absolutely want to do some things outside, and we have to do some things to control the traffic flow for pick up and drop off as well.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan, please.
Yes, Dr. Cobbs, were you planning on moving the teachers as well?
Well, we will move some teachers probably because their assignment where they are now, they'll have to be relocated, yes, and we might need to hire a couple more. We'll have to hire an administrator, principal for the building.
The other question is the Adult Learning Center. You can't put them someplace else. They have to be there, in that building.
But what was it, Child Learning Center?
The Adult Learning Center?
Yeah, well, they're not gonna move because they need that space for the adults when they come to learn, they put the kids there, so that won't change.
So,
It's only one classroom at the Adult Learning Center.
so there's no problem with the union or anything? You can just move teachers around?
Well, they're early childhood teachers in an elementary school, so their assignment should be at a pre-K school.
Okay, thank you.
For the needs of the district, that's what we do.
Mrs. Rivas Mendez, please.
Yeah. Is there any possibility that we can move towards full day pre-K?
Well, I think we need to crawl before we walk. So possibly, and we could probably carve out some classrooms for full day like we do at the Barrett Russell, but that would be based on needs, and I think it would be based on particularly needs for special needs children, if we had to do full day for them. If we didn't have enough capacity anywhere else, we'd probably have to put some in Huntington.
Okay.
Mrs. Sullivan, please.
Yes, just back to the preschool thing. For the record, I wasn't saying I am not for preschool. I mean, I was an early education teacher.
Okay.
We are not being fully funded by the state for preschool. Our K to 12 grades need to be seen first, and they need so many things that they still don't have because of funding. So we need to make sure. I haven't seen any of the numbers on
Yeah,
the
of course
preschool.
we'll crunch
so
the
I
numbers
can't. We have a $14 million deficit. We need to be leery of that. We need to be looking at numbers. We need to be looking at the budget and what these things cost. We're here for K to 12. I mean, we add preschool if we have money. It's not state mandated that we have preschool. So I'm really wanting to see the numbers
Well-
on this, and
Yeah, I agree.
I think the whole
Obviously,
committee
I
would
wanted to
wanna see
present
the
the idea
numbers,
to you first, but
the
then we
funding.
always,
Yep.
obviously, I wanted to present the idea to you first, and then do the, perspectives and work up a number, and take a look at it. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to do it otherwise, but the other thing is, we need to do something with the building, and it's empty right now, and we need to decide, what's gonna look like, so, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Cobbs.
Any additional comments relative to this matter for Dr. Cobbs? Follow up by Ms. Azak,
Sorry,
please.
it's just more of a statement. So I know when there were some changes recently with the pre-K, I know I heard from a lot of families that were struggling because they needed the pre-K. And we're also, I know over the years, those that have presented to us have always said, once our students are in our schools, and they just they will thrive. They'll do so much better because we're starting them at a younger age, coming in and getting them into the Brockton Public Schools and working with them to make them stronger kindergartners and first graders. So the bird babies and the pre-K, it does. I know I heard from a lot of constituents, and I'm sure others have too, that families need this because they are paying for the childcare, and at least here we're teaching the kids, and even though it's half days, we're still getting paid for half a day.
Right.
So it's not like we're losing money on this. And then if we can just double check, we can't keep the Huntington empty, so we do need to figure out what we're going to do with the Huntington, just so we don't have any issues as far as the MSBA and having the roof done, which looks absolutely beautiful. And as you mentioned, there are the two playgrounds. There's the back playground, and then there's the side playground. So, but again, the numbers, if you can just get us the numbers.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I do want to thank community member Matt Stant, who was actually on the building roof committee in Huntington. So thanks, Matt, for what you did over there. Any other questions relative to this matter? Dr. Cobbs, I think we're done with agenda
Okay, so
8.
again, I just wanted to finish, the transportation part of it, because right now, the preschool is on the elementary tier, and talking with Dr. Murray, and it's something we'll have to work out with the, to bargain with the union, but if we put it on these tier 2, it would save us a lot of money for transportation, and, we could accommodate it much more easily if it's on tier 2 instead of tier 3. So that's just something we'll have to add into the mix, what that looks like in bargaining with the union.
Go on to agenda 9, which is other business. Is there any other business before this committee? Any other business that we're aware of? Mr. Homer?
We'll work on getting a date and time set up for the facilities usage and planning subcommittee. We're working on that.
Okay, just gentle reminder again, when we have a regular scheduled meeting on the 14th, it won't be here. Again, we're going to be at the Dr. Arnone School on Belmont Street in the auditorium/theater. Now we will go on to agenda 10, which is, some say when I run a meeting, this is the best part of a meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn at this time?
Motion?
Motion was made by Mr. Homer. Was it seconded by you, Mrs. Sullivan?
Second.
Motion was made by Mrs. Sullivan. Motion was made to adjourn. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. Passes. Have a good night. Drive careful.